Dempster Highway 2024. From August 7 to 10, I made a trip from Tok, Alaska up the Dempster Highway with my oldest son, Preston. On day one, we left home, rode over the top of the World Highway, across the Yukon River Ferry to Dawson City, and then onto the Dempster Highway. The distance from my house to the Arctic Ocean at the top of the continent is about 760 miles. The Dempster Highway starts about 25 miles east of Dawson City in the Yukon Territory, Canada. This all-gravel summer road used to end in Inuvik, 465 miles in, and about 90 miles short of the Arctic Ocean. In 1958, oil and gas exploration were expanding, and the Canadian government decided to build a road from Dawson City into the Northwest Territories. Road construction began in 1959. The Eagle Plains oil discovery was determined to have no commercial potential, and construction stopped after only 71 miles were completed in 1962. In 1964, this road was named the Dempster Highway. Construction resumed in 1970 after the 1968 American discovery of oil and gas in Prudhoe Bay, Alaska. Canadian work was motivated by speculation that an oil pipeline might be built in the Mackenzie Valley. The final section of road to Inuvik was completed in 1978. The road closely follows what used to be a dog sledding trail used to access Fort McPherson in the very early 1900s. Today, there are summertime ferries and winter ice bridges for year-round transport up the Dempster Highway across the Mackenzie and Peel Rivers. The Inuvik-Tuktoyaktuk Highway had been considered since the 1960s. Approval to create the very first year-round all-weather route connecting the Canadian road network to the Arctic Ocean came in 2013, with construction beginning in 2014. The project was challenging, with melting permafrost leaving large portions of the construction area underwater and severe cold and high winds in winter. Construction crews worked 24 hours per day in the first 3 years during winter. In November 2017, year-round access opened from Inuvik to Tuktoyaktuk. Since that time, this route has become competitive with Alaska's Dalton Highway to Prudhoe Bay on adventure motorcyclist and overland traveler bucket lists around the world. This section of road had about 4 inches of loose round gravel on it in 2023 when I traveled it, and seems to be reported that way consistently by travelers through this area. It is my opinion you should run both the Canadian and Alaskan routes to the top of the continent at some point, if able. Each has its own unique high points and its own portions of very stunning scenery. One advantage this Canadian route has over Alaska's is that you can actually ride your own bike right up to the shores of the Arctic Ocean in Tuktoyaktuk. Prudhoe Bay requires a bus tour to physically visit the coast inside Alaska's oil fields. Preston and I had great weather on day one. Temperatures were in the high 80s and the sky was clear. The sun doesn't set up north at this time of year, and daylight is no restriction on travel hours. One thing I failed to calculate was how interesting sitting on the back of the bike was going to be, and the fact Preston was not used to the long hours on the bike that I am. On day one, we pushed 500 miles from home to Eagle Plains and pitched camp for the night. On day two, we decided that we were not riding the last 90 miles from Inuvik to the ocean on this trip. We took an easy travel day and set up camp in Inuvik. This will allow us to split the 680 miles back home into slightly easier days after a half day of rest here on day two. The Lewis Cardinal Ferry across the Mackenzie River runs across to the north on demand as needed from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. throughout the season. I missed getting northbound video of the Peel River Ferry. Neither ferry runs 24/7, Hours are generally consistent and are available for research online. Road surface conditions on the Dempster Highway can vary significantly. Much of the road this trip was rough. Portions of it had significant rocks embedded in the road surface in washboard fashion that chew up your tires. Other portions had loose gravel, and yet in other places where recent maintenance had been done, there was loose, soft dirt on the surface. In the rain, portions become muddy and quite challenging to navigate. We spent a bit exploring around Inuvik and enjoyed spending some downtime chilling at our camp in Jack Campground. On the morning of day 3, we packed up and hit the road back south. Our goal today was to get back to Tombstone to camp the night and be within easy range of home again tomorrow. The weather in Inuvik was still warm and sunny, but south of Eagle Plains was forecasted to be stormy for the next couple days. I tipped the 37,000 mile mark on my KLR today. We did a bit of side trail exploration and got a flat rear tire.
It's like I had a fold in my tube and it wore through, I guess. And must have went flat and the valve stem ripped out.
I had reused this heavy tube in 4 different tires. I noticed a crease in it last tire change and should have not tried to use it again. Apparently they stretch and the excess folded when aired up and it finally wore through. After an hour of replacement time, I had learned my lesson and won't be bringing quite so much use out of my next tubes. Trails up to the radio towers near the Northwest Territories and Yukon borders offer stunning views from the mountaintops. You should check them out as you pass through. As we crossed the Arctic Circle back to the south, we could see the rain falling ahead of us. We made it into Eagle Plains just in time for the rain to start. Tomorrow isn't forecasted to be any better, and we have to get home, so after our lunch stop, we rode on anyways. Roads that were easy to pass over 2 days ago now demanded my full attention and were no longer cheery, dry dirt roads. It rained hard, and even though we were wearing good gear, water found places to seep in the cracks, and we got just a little bit chilly. Well into the evening, we made it into the Tombstone campground and spread all our gear out in their picnic shelter, fired up the wood stove, and were able to dry our gear out overnight. This made day 4 light years more comfortable than it otherwise would have been. On day 4, we happily suited up in our now dry gear and finished the ride on home to Tok. I think next time I want to try to go to the Arctic Ocean from my house with a passenger, we will plan a 6-day trip. We might not have made it the whole way up, but we went out, lived, and enjoyed the time we had. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next adventure coming soon.